Deep in the Bavarian Alps, where clouds hung over the rocky peaks as if resting from the burden of the sky, a white building with massive columns and wide windows rose as if it had been extracted from a tyrant's dream. This was the Berghof, the mountain house, the headquarters that bore witness to the dark corridors of power and a mirror of a madness that believed it was immortal. But behind this headquarters, there was a man in the shadows, smiling only when he wasn't being watched. A man who carried no weapons, but ink and orders. His name was Martin Bormann. Bormann was, at first, just a secretary, a mere administrative employee in the National Socialist German Workers' Party. But in his eyes, there was a hunger not just for power, but for a special kind of immortality, to have his name written in the right margin of history books, where no one could ignore it. In 1933, when Hitler took power, the Berghof was just a small inn on the slopes of the Obersalzberg. But Bormann saw it as more than a place of rest. He saw it as a temple of power, a throne covered in pine and mist, a place that could become the unspoken decision-making center of the Third Reich. And so he began to carve out his vision. Bormann didn't use the sword, but rather the pen, connections, and professional opportunism. He knew that control didn't come from outside, but from within, from documents, from meeting schedules, from managing time that the Führer didn't have. He became the one who decided who saw Hitler and when. The Berghof was his greatest project, his personal masterpiece, even if it wasn't written in his name. Funded generously from party coffers and from plundered and confiscated funds, Bormann launched the expansion project. The building was not just stone laid upon stone, it was a symbol. He brought the architects under his wing, guided the engineers with a velvet grip, and oversaw every detail in the stone, the glass, the curtains in the rooms, and even the blue paint on the ceiling of the Great Hall. He wanted to create a structure that resembled his earthly god, Hitler, but that reflected his own spirit, silence, austerity, and strictness. From the Berghof, the map of a new Europe was drawn, the meetings of the leaders, the conquest agreements, and the nights of ideological madness. But Bormann wasn't sitting with them at the table. He didn't need to. He was the one who wrote the agenda for the meetings, the one who closed the door and let them talk, then returned to write down what happened. As for Hitler, he found refuge in the Berghof from the noise of Berlin, but deep down, he didn't know that this place was more of a palace for Bormann than it was his own. During the war years, as bombs tore Berlin apart, the Berghof stood tall on the mountain. But in the end, it didn't hold. In April 1945, as the Reich collapsed, the headquarters was bombed.